Welcome to the VERAfied Podcast, where the only rule is the truth. I'm John Moftis. I'm your host. I can't believe they're letting me drive the bus today. To my left, we have the Chief, Franklin Arriola.
Hey.
And we have the man, the legend, Brandon, the Truth Vera. What's up, gents?
Thank you, sir. How's it going, guys?
All good, my man. All good. All
Good day, good day.
Good to be back here.
Yeah.
Oh, it is always good to have my partners. Speaking of partners, we have our brand partner, Guam Army National Guard. We want to
Shout out.
give them
Shout
a
out.
shout
Thank
out.
you very much.
Yeah. June Bird Owens.
June Bird,
Yeah.
okay, and still got to give a shout out to
Big Joey.
Master
Joey
Sergeant
Cruz,
Joey
Master
Cruz.
Sergeant
Joey Cruz.
Joey. Also want to give a shout out to the 3 blind mice. There's 4 of them. Go figure that one out, right?
It's a counting. It's a rounding error.
That's absolutely.
All right.
But without them guys, we don't have this beautiful production.
bet.
This set, I mean, just
The lighting,
gorgeous.
the cameras, the placement,
All
all
of
of
it.
it.
Oh, man.
All of it.
Always got to give love to Bob Salas and
Yeah.
Sabrina Salas Matanani from Guam Windward Memorial. Thank you. And then, of course,
Get your plots now.
That's right, absolutely. And then Grapplers Quest and Truth Apparel.
Yep.
Yeah,
There you
And
go.
then for that beautiful bottle of Chivas Regal, thank you to Jerry Tang of Applebee's Guam.
Yeah.
All right.
Right on. Jerry, thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Applebee's.
Gentlemen, we have a full show today,
Let's
and
go.
I know with everything in your brains and your souls and your minds, we're going to light it up today. So we're going to go to our first feature, Truth Be Told.
Ooh.
I'm going to throw you out a subject, and, we're just going to talk about it at length. So, Brandon, this one is for you.
Uh-oh. What are you talking about?
Nobody ever wants to, nobody
about
wants to be part of a lawsuit, but I'm just going to go straight up, right? We're going to talk about this. What is the truth behind the class action lawsuit of which you are a part, filed by Kung Lee, Nate Quarry, against the UFC and its parent company, Zuffa?
What it's about is it's an antitrust lawsuit with claims that the UFC were using. What's the word I would be using? I don't want to say anything incorrect, but using not very nice business tactics to suppress fighter pay. There's enough videos out there of Dana saying whatever Dana says, including, I keep them hungry, so they keep coming back to fight for more. Talking about suppressing fighter pay. On top of that, it's things like buying up the companies that were offering fighters bigger contracts on the world stage, buying females, So it's not much they can say. There's a timeline. There's bank statements. There's things that they've said, things that they've done. So it's been a long process, man. I think it's probably been 10 years so far. There's a timeline that you can follow on our head lawyers page. And, man, just trying to get the contracts to be fair. And I know, listen, this is the world of, you get to fight for a living. Oh my God, I would do that for free if I could. Yeah, you would. You probably would. But we're professionals. We get paid to break our face open, bleed in the gym, and still show up on the day to give you the greatest show that can go down, So we're grossly underpaid when you compare it to the percentage points all across the board of all other professional athletics. Yeah. So we're fighting for things like licensing, the contracts, everything that we've been fighting for. There's so many things, but one of the big ones was the word perpetuity. I never knew what this word was until UFC contracts. Even if you were out of contract with them, you were fighting with somebody else, or you were negotiating, whatever you were doing, no matter what, your likeness and image was owned by the UFC in perpetuity. That meant for infinity.
Yeah, gotcha.
So moving forward, as our class action is gaining traction, we're getting certain decisions, we're winning certain motions. Now the contracts have a sunset clause in the UFC. So we're already winning when you talk about it in terms of what we're doing for the fighters. Because now in contracts, there's a sunset clause
They've
now.
reacted.
Yeah.
There's a 1-year sunset clause, which means they know they were doing wrong. And they know that they're going to lose that point during the class.
I think they call this what they were doing a monopsony, I think is the way you pronounce that, which is very similar to a monopoly. Frank, when we hear antitrust, there's a reason why the owners and the executives, right? You can't have a CEO from Exxon in the same, room as, another petroleum company, right?
Yeah.
The shale guys, they're not going to go have, lunch,
Collusion.
right? Because you're looking
Collusionary
at
conversation,
right?
sure.
But unless you're in the business, like obviously Brandon is, it's hard to kind of understand this, right? Some people are going to say, "Oh, it's just a standard business practice." What's your take on all this?
Well, Brandon, before he got on the air, he was talking about where they're at within the suit, and not being a trained lawyer, you let the course of the judiciary program take its course, right? And it sounds like based on what has been happening, it's transpired over the past 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time, right? These guys they have staying power for sure. They have a case, right? They lost their appeal.
They just
from what I
lost their
understand.
appeal from the Ninth Circuit
And so now
Court.
they either they go to court or they settle before court, and before they go to court. And my father used to have a saying. He said, "The best lawyers keep their clients out of court," right? So if that were to come to fruition, then it would think that they would settle before they get into court because they could lose quite a bit.
And your dad was definitely one of the best that Guam ever had. I guess maybe the question, some people are going to want to know the specifics. I'm going to want to know the specifics. There obviously is a finite timeline, right? I mean, it's not like anybody that was ever in the UFC ever.
Oh, correct.
Yeah, how do we do that? I know you mentioned the number before. This affects 1,200 fighters. How is that designated? How did they define the class?
So I was actually speaking with Rob Macy yesterday and today, early this morning, and there's 2 lawsuits going on right now. 2 class actions have been filed. I don't remember the name of the second one. The first one is Lee versus obviously Zuffa UFC. Second one, I don't remember the name. Maybe Dalloway versus UFC. So our class begins December 16th, 2010 to June 30th, 2017. So if you were an athlete that competed for the UFC from between those dates, you qualify for the very first class. The second class starts the day after June 30th, 2017 till tomorrow because they're still doing BS. So there's another class action filed after that. We've been certified as a class. The UFC has lost its appeal. And we are going to trial second week April all the way through May, 6-week trial, if we make it there.
Yeah.
We represent 1,214 fighters, 1,212 fighters. And, man, we're just asking all of them, man, if you're in Vegas or Vegas, it's the biggest gyms out there. You've been training. Come hang out with us. Man, we've been fighting for you guys for 10, 12 years.
That would be a wonderful sight to have 1,200 fighters with their families show up to the courthouse. I mean, talk about a statement.
Come hang out. Man, you're going to get this money. Might as well be part of the thing that gets you there.
Yeah. You're listening to the VERAfied Podcast, and this is presented by our good friends at the Guam Army National Guard. Frank, again, right, neither you nor I nor Brandon are lawyers, but when you're looking at a company like UFC, right, which is a billion-dollar company, just your take. These guys have the most expensive lawyers.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have any kind of idea of, wow, what is their counter? What could their possible counter be when you're looking at, how do they say, hey, guys, look, we gave you the opportunity, remember, right? You wanted to fight at the highest level. We gave you that, right? Aren't you grateful?
Yeah, John, that's high-end legal stuff, right? And there's so many variables that come into making those kinds of decisions. Obviously, Dana White is going to have to figure out, right, together in consultation with his attorneys. But, when you're up against a class action like Brandon with 1,200 very popular, very well-known fighters who, to both their credit, the MMA industry has really, it's overtaken boxing and all the other contact sports in America.
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
Exactly. It's next level stuff. And so a lot of attention is going to be brought to bear. But it's really just a matter. It comes down to math. Like I said prior, it's they're gonna do their math and say, okay, we can settle at this, or we can go to trial, potentially lose, and it could be triple.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yep.
they're gonna have to make that mathematical calculus, and that's something that's really up to them and how they handle it.
Yeah.
It's out of my pay grade.
Yeah, absolutely.
B, we're going to wrap up this segment, but I guess if there's anything that maybe there's a message out there, you and Kung Lee and Nate Quarry and the other 1,200 fighters, this isn't necessarily trying to, shut down the UFC or beat them up. It's saying, can we make this fair?
Yeah. Let me share a quick story with you guys. Part of the reasoning behind it. One time, right before I fought Shogun in LAX at the Staples Center, literally the week of, I got rear-ended. And then as I'm laying on the table in the emergency room, the first doc comes in and says, "Oh man, 2 of your spine are bad. You're gonna have to have surgery on your spine." And he bounced, and I just was sitting there losing my mind. My manager came over and said, "Hey man, I'm checking in on you, see how you're doing. But you know who else is checking on you? Joe Silva. He just actually asked me, he said, man, can you make the fight, kid?" I was like, damn man, he didn't even ask how I was doing.
Yeah.
Just asked if I'm gonna make the fight. Came back later, second doc came in with another opinion, then went through some more machines. I did not have to have surgery on my spine. I made it to the fight for Shogun, even more angry than I was before it happened, but we're not cattle. We shouldn't be treated like that as athletes, not as the type of athletes we are. So that's part of why this fight's happening.
Good.
Got it. Thank you, B. You're watching VERAfied Podcast. We're going to go to a new feature called Finish This Sentence. I'm going to start it off, and you guys finish it off. Let's go with you, Frank. President Joe Biden.
I'm nervous now.
President Joe Biden.
President Joe Biden.
As soon as I say that, right? Boom. President Joe Biden will be defined by...
Oh, wow. Straight up, the worst president our country's ever seen. If, as of today, right, he's going into re-election year next year.
so you're saying he could just match it, right?
Oh,
He
yeah.
could just be worse
Yeah.
than he was.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just look around you, right? There's a two-front war in the middle. There's one in the Middle East, one in Europe.
Almost 3.
Right? You got China right north of us. Okay, that's
Running into ships. They're already running into the
Yeah,
Philippine ships.
they're already out there.
They're already
mortgage
acting a fool.
interest rates, inflation through the roof. We could stop. My favorite topic to talk about with Joe Biden is our border, our open border.
Mm-hmm.
Those things can all be corrected. They really can be. And
He just has to say something.
yeah, what he needs to do is really stop catering and kowtowing to the left flank, the progressive side of the Democratic Party, because they're taking the Democratic Party into the toilet. So that's what he'll be defined as if he continues down this path. But there's always opportunities to fix that. Get off our biggest threat to America are MAGA Republicans. What? No, it's not. Not even close.
Yeah.
Those are law-abiding Americans. They want the country to do well, right? There's other, the climate change thing. Really,
Every 10 years, they keep
Yeah.
changing it.
Yeah,
Something
so-
else.
yeah, he's in trouble. And I'm not saying that because I want him to be to lose. You just look at his poll numbers; they are tanking everywhere.
Yeah.
In the young adults, in the Hispanic communities, swing states. New York Times and a Siena University poll just came out just yesterday. 5 swing states: Nevada, Georgia, Arizona, Michigan. His average. He's trailing Trump if the election were held today by an average of 5 to 6 points.
Yeah.
In Nevada, it's 10 points, right? And so that says a lot. Those are swing states now.
Yeah.
Yes.
You got to win those.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if you don't win those, you're
Yep.
done, right?
Yeah.
So, it's not just me thinking this.
Yeah.
Americans feel that way.
Oh, and Frank, I know polling numbers can be skewed, but I saw a national poll, and I don't know how old it is. I just know 58% of Democrats, as we approach the next presidential election, would rather have another candidate.
Yeah, for sure.
besides Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah.
I mean that's That's I don't know if those numbers are historic.
That's an indictment on his presidency,
that's an
right?
indictment.
So,
and if you're
From his own
Democrat
party.
leadership,
Yeah.
somebody has to stop and say, okay, guys, maybe we should rethink this.
yeah.
Maybe something. Yeah. Try something. Yeah.
Same question for you, B. Finish the sentence. President Joe Biden will be defined by.
His corruption from his entire family, him all the way down. It's coming. There's enough evidence. There's enough checks. There's enough wire and bank records to make it happen. I understand the media is very strong, but I think one of our truthisms says it. The truth has endurance, so it'll get out there.
Absolutely. Okay. B, let's start with you. Finish this sentence. The most important issue facing Americans is.
The most important issue facing America is single-parent homes. We need to get back. We need to start teaching the ways of traditional values, traditional families, extended families, and learning that just because your child turns 18 doesn't mean they're ready to be out on their own. Some kids stay home till they're 35 and end up becoming amazing surgeons. So something we need to fix in this world.
And it's funny that you say that, right? Because this isn't going to be my opportunity to dump on the transgender nation or those
Community
people that say whatever. But there are parents that are allowing their 8-year-old children to decide on what gender they're going to be.
Yeah, man.
Right? 18-year-old kids right now can't figure out whether they're coming or going. They're still searching for themselves, sometimes even into their 30s.
Yeah.
And we're going to let an 8-year-old or a 5-year-old say, well, you know what? He's putting on mommy's heels. So, yes, we're going to change pronouns. And, yeah, of course, you can decide on gender, what do they call it? I don't even know the term.
Gender
right?
reassignment or
reassignment,
yeah.
right? I mean,
You turn on, you switch channels when it goes. Yeah.
What the?
I just saw
what
Frank
the-
went, but
Yeah.
that's you bring up such a good point, and I didn't know you were going to go there. That's very
Sorry.
strong. No, that's beautiful.
No, that was a great answer, right?
Absolutely.
Very deep and very philosophical almost. Mine is more of a concrete issue, and that is our southern border. I think that thing, it's a disaster, and
We don't have a border.
yeah. When I
not a
first
border
started
right now,
talking,
yeah.
people are looking at me like, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" I tell you, given today's state, the Middle East war, the Ukrainian war, and of course China, there has been estimates of anywhere from 6 to 10 million
Yep.
illegal immigrants into our 6 to 10 million illegal immigrants. Now, you just do a little math and some ratios and percentages. How many of those do you think are people who want to harm our country?
Let's
Terrorists.
say 10%. Let's say 10%.
Just okay. There you go. That's 10%. What's that? That's a million people. Whoa. Okay.
What's our
That's-
standing army? What's our standing military at?
I don't know the total numbers, but that tells you something.
Yeah.
And if I was an adversary of the United States of America, and China, these guys with fairly deep pockets, Russia, Iran, right? They've budgeted some money to get their
Dumping
people.
them in.
Yeah, just send them right in, right? Terrorists, we have the best of the murderers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Prisoners, pedophiles, rapists, all of it.
They open up
They're
the
in
door,
our
let 'em in.
country, and
Yep.
what's my point? I mean, I live on Guam, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but they're still my fellow Americans, right? And we forget about that. We try to join teams, right? You're on that team, I'm on this. No, we're all Americans. We all should think the same way. Like, I care for those people because I don't want these rapists to come in there and rape high school girls. I mean, and that's going to happen. It's coming. I'm telling you. I was thinking about today. I thought,
We're getting the wash here.
and then the terrorists, right? They're going to strike, and the question is, will they strike before the election or after the election?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a bunch of guys that, no, let's go now, and the other going to say, no, let's wait for the election. Hopefully Joe Biden gets reelected, and then we're going to strike and strike hard. Right? Just because honestly, if I was a terrorist, that's exactly the way I would. That's exactly what I would do. If I was in charge of that operation, that's exactly the way I would do
think
it.
B said it best, right? We don't have borders. All right, guys, that was really serious, man. Woo! Heavy. So you know what? It's time for verified mail. Right?
Yeah, there you
go. Okay.
Let's hear from the folks outside.
Hear from the folks who are mailing us, emailing us, texting. And this one for you, B.
Okay.
Right? This one comes from Jonah from Jotnya.
From Yona.
That's
Jonah
awesome.
from Jotnya.
Okay, Brandon, I want to participate in Grapplers Quest, but I don't know if I'm tournament ready. Can you and your team hold grappling seminars to prepare us for GQ on Guam next year, please?
So next year, it's two different questions because next year our tournament is already happening in January 27, 28. I don't think I'll be able to be doing seminars in January to prep you for the January tournament. After that, though, I probably can. The team will help me with that as well. I do want to add that I will be visiting all of the schools here on island before the January tournament. Yeah. So I need you to ask me questions and let's figure out whatever you need help with then. There's so many divisions. There's a beginner division, and I promise you the beginner division, we kind of baby everybody. I remember my very first time in Grapplers Quest, I was babied in the beginner division because I really didn't know what I was doing. Come on out, have fun, and see you at your school. In Jotnya, maybe, right?
There you go.
Love it. Okay, let me see. Oh, this is cute. I wonder if this is real. Probably not. It's okay. This comes in from Ted E. Bear. Okay.
Hey,
Ted
Teddy
E.
Bear.
Period Bear. Okay.
All right.
Mr. Vera, I saw your press
Anonymity.
conference a
Very nice.
few weeks ago, and I have to say you're very down to earth, and you're also very inspiring. I love BJJ, but I want to get better. Besides the training I receive from my coaches at my school, what do you recommend I do to improve my quickness, stamina, and power? Thank you, sir. Please keep speaking the truth. So he believes you're speaking the truth, brother. So speak the truth to
That's cool.
Teddy Bear.
Teddy Bear, I would say make sure you incorporate strength and conditioning into your training, even if it's not with your coaches, actually outside of your coaching, and a lot of footwork drills. That would be what I would incorporate. On top of that, if you're really about this life, you should just be watching videos all day and trying moves. That's kind of how you're going to progress from where you are now to being one of the best. Thanks, Teddy Bear.
I love the fact that, when you start talking about technology, right? Frank, you and I played football and basketball. And there was never a time where my coach said, do me a favor, watch video.
Hey, green light. Way to go. Actually, I did want to ask Brendan a question because a new type of workout, well, not really new anymore, but CrossFit, right? You ask the old school guys, they'll say, no, not CrossFit. And I've done CrossFit before, and I think that could work for any sport. It may not get you to your peak performance, but it certainly will help. So, Brandon, would CrossFit, that sort of workout, help BJJ practitioners?
So, like anything else in any area, any genre, just because somebody's called coach, doctor, or professional, somebody, professor, anything, doesn't mean that they're worth their salt.
Sure.
My biggest problem with CrossFit from before is that somebody can go away for a weekend and become CrossFit certified to teach people how to lift. That being said, if you have a very good CrossFit instructor, CrossFit would be an amazing thing to add to your repertoire. But I would vet your instructor and, man, pay attention to all the techniques that they're showing because there's a lot of explosive techniques that can hurt you if you're not doing them correctly.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I've seen that quite a bit.
I've seen too many things pop out of socket that they should have never been doing in the first place.
That's why he's the legend. That's why he's got a podcast, right? Brandon Vera, that's why you're listening and watching the VERAfied Podcast. We're going to take a quick break just to acknowledge our brand partners and sponsors. See you in a bit. All right, you've tuned in to the VERAfied Podcast. Brandon Vera, Frank Arriola. I'm John Moffitt. Okay, we are going into a segment we call Truth or BS. I'm going to give you guys a statement. As you know, you say, oh, that's so true, or that's boop, right?
Yeah.
That's some
Okay.
BS.
Okay.
Okay. Let's get right into
right.
it. By the way, this segment, Truth or BS, is presented by the Guam Army National Guard and Truth Apparel.
Yeah, Truth
Shop
Apparel.
That's the
Brandon.
one. Athleisure Will.
Shop.brandonvera.com.
That's the one, Johnny.
All right. First statement. Truth or BS? B, the Republicans will control both the House and Senate and the White House in 2025.
This is truth or my hope. And I'm not even a staunch Republican. Like, even some of my views, I would probably get kicked out of the Republican Party for. But nothing that the blue team is touching is turning to gold. It's all turning to beep. I wish they could. I wish they would. We still have some problems and a bunch of rhinos in there that aren't looking out for the country. But, man, it's 100% better than what's happening now.
What you have now.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to say B is going wishful truth,
Wishful,
right?
wishful truth. I like that one.
Okay, all
I
right.
like that one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Statement number one, to answer it specifically, typically what I've found is when you have the executive branch taken over by one party, usually the legislative branch goes the other way,
Okay.
right? The last term, they were all Democrats, and of course, the Republicans swung the House of Representatives, right? The Senate is still 50-50, and they have Kamala as the VP, so that's still in the Democrats' favor. But, for the Republicans to win all of it, I know that the country is really in tough shape, but if I was a betting man, I would say BS to that. But I would caveat it with, I think they'll win the White House and the House of Representatives, but I don't think they'll win the Senate.
Okay. All right.
So it's kind of, that's a loaded question.
Oh, absolutely. Which is the reason why,
Yeah.
you shouldn't give me the mic.
You're kind of dancing about it anyway.
Steering wheel. Okay. All right, Franklin, we're going to start with you. Ron
Okay.
DeSantis would make a better president than Vivek Ramaswamy.
I would say truth to that. Vivek's a smart guy, like I said. He's a brilliant guy. He knows how to make money, and he knows how to run organizations. But I would give the nod to DeSantis because he's run, and this is the key thing, this big difference, and I'll use Joe Biden as an example. Joe Biden touted, I've been in Washington, D.C. for 87,000 years, right? But he's been a senator the whole time on the legislative side. DeSantis was an actual executive. He was a governor running a state. Running the state of Florida is similar to running the entire country because you have all these cabinet members to help you run the state, right? So it's execution, it's executive versus legislative where you're drafting laws. And very clearly, just using those as examples, DeSantis was, and he's a very good governor in the state of Florida, right? Very conservative. People are flocking to Florida
Yeah.
for a certain reason,
Yep.
right? Economic opportunities, inflation's low, et cetera,
I
right?
mean, it's not for Disneyland, Frank?
Well, he got into it with the Disney people,
absolutely did.
right?
Oh, man.
He felt that they had a lease that was way too heavily favored in their part. He said, "No, we're gonna, I represent the people of Florida, and I'm gonna go against the House of Disney."
Yep.
That being said, just think about what he did to do that. I mean, he saw it firsthand. He saw the numbers. And he said, well, you're a big corporation and you've done a lot for the state of Florida, but this is too one-sided. We need to fix that. And you'll only get that from an executive who's been in that situation before. Legislators will try to appease everybody. Oh, yeah, let's all be friends. It's tough to be an executive. You have to make those very difficult decisions.
Okay, so
That's
we're
why I
going to
pick-
say
yeah.
Frank
Sorry.
says
No,
that the
that's
statement
perfect.
Ron
Yeah,
DeSantis
yeah.
would make a better president than Vivek Ramaswamy is truth. Okay. B, what say you? Truth or BS on that statement?
I'm a very simple man. I didn't look at it as deep as Chief did, but I'm in 100% agreement with him because if I needed a coach, would I have the guy that's been through the fire or the guy that's based on theory
Yeah.
coming out with me,
Practical experience.
Yeah,
right? You
that's
know that.
that's the most important.
Yeah.
So, and then to tip his hat even more, I mean, I love the way that he handled the pandemic situation.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I'm a fan. Granted, he didn't do everything perfectly. I mean,
No one did.
Florida was open. I was down there. I went
Exactly.
there. I
It was
moved there for a
open,
year. Florida was something else. Florida didn't feel like it was part of the U.S. during the pandemic, the plandemic, so I'm a fan of him. I think he would be way better. And, I'm hoping Ramaswamy, I'm hoping that guy becomes somebody's VP. I'd like to see what he would do if he could grow into the position.
Yeah, he still has a lot to offer, for sure. And if I could go back to DeSantis, this guy was he was a JAG Navy lawyer. He served with some SEALs. So in terms of the foreign policy, right, one of the things that Joe Biden is just really failing on, he would be able to handle that with his eyes closed pretty much.
Yeah,
I would think.
Okay, so we're going to say that B agrees with the chief. And that's truth. All right. Truth or BS, China has surpassed the United States as the most powerful and most feared country in the world. B, truth or BS?
I would say 100% BS. We live on this side of the world, I know China's going broke. Their economy's failing because their construction industry is super upside down. They've been building ghost cities for so long.
Yep.
I drove by these places, man, like an hour and a half just driving. And literally, we're driving like 50, 60 miles an hour. It's empty. There's no
Empty
one.
high-rises.
Empty high-rises. There's no one there. So all of their stuff is coming to a head. I understand how it's portrayed on the media. Everything's happening now, and they're messing with the Philippines and all of the borders and India right now. They need something to happen to help stimulate their economy. They need war. They need Taiwan back. They need to be in the fight with something. They're hurting, so that's why they're going to start acting up soon.
Okay. So 100% BS, as Brandon said. Okay, Chief. China has surpassed the United States as the most powerful and most feared country in the world. Truth or BS?
That's truth. Oh, I'm sorry. Check that. No, that's false. BS.
Okay, BS.
And it's funny. I was in for a business trade mission a few years back, and I was in both Beijing and Shanghai, and then Shenyang. And I'll tell you, he was exactly correct. You could drive for miles, and you just see all these high rises, and it's empty. It's like, whoa, what was that all about, right?
I wasn't on the trip with Chief. I was on a different trip. I was
you're
there
right.
somewhere.
You guys saw the same
we
thing.
saw
Yeah.
the same thing, and plus, as tough as it is to be in America right now, you can never underestimate the resolve of the American people. There's just no way. And then if you look at our fighting force, our United States, our service members, they got some challenges internally, but we've got the best manned military. We have all the equipment. I mean, we will be able absolutely to defend ourselves. Now, in terms of bless you,
God bless you.
Thank you, Sergeant.
most powerful, most feared. I clearly right now today, if I would answer that question separately, are we the most feared country?
We were.
Yeah, we were.
We should be again.
But there's a major dents in there.
We can be again.
And it's the way it started, well, at least in this administration, it started with the Afghanistan withdrawal, right?
Yeah.
13, our members were killed. We left $18 billion worth of equipment left over, which is probably going to be used against us ultimately,
Is
if not
being
already.
used, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a problem. Now we look at how Biden is going, I didn't even know this. Our U.S. Assets in the Middle East were being attacked by emissaries of the Iranian government. We got attacked like 30 or 40 times, and we only retaliated like 3 or 4 times. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not the American way of doing things, right?
Yeah.
You hit one of us, we're going to come pretty hard against you, right? So those are the kind of things that are happening out there that I think maybe we're still the most powerful, but in terms of the most feared today, right now, I don't think so.
Okay, so FPA calls BS on
50-50,
that.
yeah.
All right, okay. Hey, you're listening to and watching the VERAfied Podcast with Brandon Vera, Frank Arriola, John Mathis. We're wrapping up this episode. It went so quickly, but we're going to go into a fun segment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like this one here.
The VERAfied Top 5.
Okay.
This is where we talk about Frank and Brandon's favorite films, food, bands, songs, cities. Today, kind of a fun one. right?
All right.
By the way,
All
VERAfied
right.
Top 5 is brought to you by Grapplers Quest
GQ.
and the Guam
Yeah.
Army National Guard.
There we go.
Okay. B,
Yes, sir. Let's go.
who are the top 5 people, living or dead, that you would invite to dinner?
Adolf Hitler.
Whoa, didn't see that coming.
Get into him a little bit.
Absolutely.
What's going on, Adolf?
Bruce Lee.
Here you go. Enter the dragon.
Water.
The very first Caesar of Rome.
Interesting.
John F. Kennedy. Man. Marcus Aurelius.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, Chief and I are looking at the bottle because
Yeah.
we're thinking,
Yeah.
we're going to pop this open.
Did he start a little early? What?
Sorry, that was
We
it.
were going to pop
Oh,
this
good.
open, but maybe
Oh,
you
yeah.
popped it open already. You know what? That's awesome. And that's
Yeah.
why, that's why we're
Yeah.
doing this podcast,
Yeah, there
Chief,
you go, there you
because
go.
So weird. That's so
just
old.
out of,
Yeah, I know.
right?
Huh?
I didn't think we were going to start with AH, but it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah.
We're going to delve a little bit
Yeah.
into that brain to find
Yeah,
out,
we'll
because
come
I
back
think
on
that's
that
an
one.
amazing list, but
Yeah, for sure.
definitely and completely different than mine and probably yours. Let's find out yours, right?
Yeah.
Verified top 5.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
are the top 5 people
For
living
me,
or dead?
It would be a little bit more contemporary.
Okay.
Right? So the first guy that I would just love to have a conversation with would be Steve Jobs.
Okay.
Right. You know,
Respect.
I'm an Apple guy through and through. And the way he designed it, the ergonomics, the look, the feel. And he was just, if you listen to the stories, he was an absolute tyrant when designing these things. So,
I mean-
Steve Jobs would be the guy. One of them.
That's a good one.
Muhammad Ali,
Hey.
right?
Okay.
The greatest. I don't care what these kids nowadays say.
Yeah.
Muhammad Ali was the greatest. I mean, he took athleticism and entertainment and even stand-up comedy to the next level. I mean, he
made it
was
a show.
Yeah, he was something, man.
Yeah.
You couldn't miss a Muhammad Ali thing.
He was the first sportsman, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
First sportsman.
Let's see, another individual I would like to talk with. I kind of thought about this. It's either kind of a toss-up between Ronald Reagan or Henry Kissinger, right? Just
Okay.
what they did with foreign policy in America, how they thought about the rest of the world relative to America, right? So I thought they would be good guys to have a good conversation with. Got to go with my contemporary, my favorite, Mike, number 23.
Hey,
right.
yeah. Okay.
You know, and this is the funny thing about a guy like Michael Jordan. I hear from pockets in the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, right? They always talk about the victimhood. Black guys can't do this, black guys can't do that because of this, that, and the other thing. Okay, and I can appreciate that and I can respect it. But you know what Mike did? I mean, just he plays basketball, and look what he's turned that into.
He broke the mold for everything.
Yeah, and he's turned it up a couple notches, right? I mean, obviously, he's like one of the top billionaires in America and in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's a pretty important guy that I would like to have dinner with. I think, it's kind of odd that I'm going to say this one, but she just gets, I'm kind of attracted to her for whatever. Oprah Winfrey. She's
okay.
another Michael Jordan type of person, right? Came from, not a whole hell of a lot, and turned into like a media kind of an empire. You're right. In other words, she gets the American people.
Absolutely.
Right? Because they get her and they want. So I always like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
Please explain how you got from where you started to where you are today, regardless of what her position is and how she operates.
Yeah.
And I, of course, I might be shallow in this regard, but I look at that financial success as a gauge, right, of how they operated and how they moved on. Because it's tough to figure out. It's tough to figure that puzzle
There's
out.
levels.
Yeah.
And she made it to the highest level. Yeah.
You bet she should. And that's the reason why she would be on that list.
And that's self-built,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right? You start out with nothing and you use the marketplace to just to get to that next level. I want to know how you navigated it and what were some of the challenges,
Yeah.
right? I think that I find that to be fascinating.
Okay.
Anyway.
I think your list put together, that would just be a
crazy
absolutely-
dinner.
Oh, crazy dinner. Amazing
That would
dinner.
be so much fun.
I'm just going to add 2 things, and then everybody who's watching this podcast is going to say, remove the Shivas, right?
Okay.
Or maybe open it up. JC, right? The ultimate, right?
Yeah,
Jesus
of
Christ.
course, yeah.
That's not
Jordan.
fair. Man, that's not fair, man. You can't JC.
No.
Man, that's not fair, man.
The Dalai Lama.
And Jimi Hendrix.
Oh,
right?
Jimmy.
Ooh,
A
Jimmy.
conversation with Jimmy, or even if he just took out his guitar and said, "You guys rap,
Whoa.
I'm gonna play."
Jimmy,
Right?
I'm gonna have to. We're gonna have to pop that Shivas. Just
Absolutely,
Jimmy, right?
Joe,
Ooh.
to toast to Jimmy.
Damn, yo.
All
That's a
right.
good list, man.
Yeah.
Oh, God, our combined lists, I think, are awesome. Okay, you know what? We're going to wrap this up. And as we always wrap this up, we always go to the truisms.
Yeah.
All right?
Oh,
So
oh.
we're going to hear about a minute truism from Brandon the Truth Vera. I believe we're going to start with Chief Franklin Arriola. It's a tough one. The subject today, defunding the police in the inner cities.
What do you want me to say about that? I mean, if you just
Leave it
think,
to Moftus, huh?
yeah, no, that's kind of a symbolic of the upside down thought process of our country. In a nutshell, that our country is upside down, unfortunately. And just look at San Francisco. Those San Franciscans thought, this is what we're going to do. It's the great soundbite. I'm going to get clicks. I'm going to get voted upon. I'm going to get in there, and I'm going to save the world because we're going to defund the police. Because those policemen are just bad people. Look at it now. If there's any city in America that I felt that I was raised in, it was the Bay Area, San Francisco. Right now, I'll drive from the East Bay, across the Bay Bridge. I'll drive right by, look at the city, and just kind of wave and just continue to go through it.
Wow.
Don't even want to stop there anymore.
Cannot anymore.
And just think about it, right? One of my favorite areas was the South of Market, the Westfield. We talked about this the other day. The Westfield Shopping Mall, Westfield, and they have Nordstrom's in there. You know, they got all the nice fancy shops, Echo, Rolex. They're all down there. Bras, all the big boys. They're all down there, and it's dead now because all the homeless took over. Crime went through the roof.
Drugs and poop
those
everywhere.
vendors just said, we're out the door. And they left. And that's really sad because, and it started with just someone thinking, that's a great line to get elected, right? No one likes the police. And everyone just, typical of today, everyone's like, oh yeah, let's jump on that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Yeah, defund the police. Yeah, that's
Hashtag,
horrible.
hashtag.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah, defund the police. Well, you defund the police. This is what you get. No one's safe anymore.
Correct.
And this
Horrible.
truly is,
Upside down.
You get what you ask for, you get what you pay for.
You get what you get.
B, we're wrapping this up. If you can give us a minute on your truism regarding defunding the police in the inner cities.
For me, it's really simple. Like, you get what you get. You get what you ask for, and you get what you deserve. For me, this goes back to something we were talking about earlier in the segment about not having two-parent homes. Mm-hmm. You don't learn respect. You don't learn manners. You don't learn how to appreciate authority or how to appreciate the police when they're needed.
It's that authority.
You think all authority is bad when sometimes it's necessary. And without that, I guess, little trinket in your box, you miss that part on the learning curve. Like, you thought it was a good idea. Now the cities are worth less. There's, I think, just in some cities, some of the big cities that we're talking about, some buildings that were going for 17 million a couple years ago are now going for like 6, 4, 7 million.
Devaluation for sure.
Just on the economic level,
That's
everything's turning to trash,
killer.
Everything outside, downtown, smells like poo, trash.
Watch the needles.
You can't, I can't take my son around any of these downtown areas because of the needles. So you get what you get, and I'm glad that you're having to deal with it now. I'm glad that the DAs are getting their cars broken into. I'm glad that they're still safe, that they're getting carjacked and having to deal with it just like the rest of the normal people that they put them in this situation for. So you get what you get. Defund the police. Keep playing with our police. To our LEOs, my official stance.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. I have been an advocate since MySpace days. All of you need to be getting paid $120,000 a year. Trim the fat.
At least.
Totally agree.
and
100%.
start making you guys train
You bet.
and work in teams. Man, I have nothing but respect for you guys. Teams
Shout
of
out to
two.
law enforcement. That's right.
And
There
let's
you
go.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for an absolutely amazing show.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Brandon, the
Fun.
Truth Vera, Chief Franklin
Sir
Arriola.
JM, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Thanks, Chief.
you know
Good
what?
one, man. That was a good one.
VERAfied Podcast.
Way to close
you
out.
only get the truth. And you know what? Before we go, just want to let you know you've been verified.
Yeah, right there. Boom. Peace out.
Peace. Thank you.